a lot of industries rely on slave labour. I read a statistic that we actually, I saw a podcast and someone asked the presenter, how many slaves do you employ? And he was like, what? We all employ slaves. We've all got smartphones. Yeah. The chips in here, the chips in the in our electric cars. That So how does that fit with having a more sustainable future?
Isn't it? And that's what we're not aware of. As Gemma said, ignorance is bliss, and I think it's organisations bringing, like Tony's Chocolonely, bringing these huge initiatives, like you say, are commonplace, that most of us are totally unconscious of. We were totally unconscious about so many things when we started writing and researching, and it's only then when you start and you think, would you want to work for an organisation where you know that there is slave labour in everything that you are doing, and it is apparent and it is talked about? Most people would be like, no, but most people don't know. Yeah. And so this is where it comes to, how can you be a sustainability, have sustainability as a core part of your values, but you've got slave labour in the supply chain. And if you're working on doing everything you can to support mitigating that out and making that and solving that problem, great, we're not going to solve all these problems overnight, but that needs to be evident, it needs to be talked about, it needs to be transparent, and at the moment, that's where greenwashing is kind of coming into place, that you've got a story being told over here, but the backstory is telling a very different story. So, that is only going to become more of a problem as it becomes more legislated against and more people get fined and it gets more teeth. And that, in one way, we interviewed Cecilia Parker-Arana, who is the Director of Consumer Protection at the CMA, and we got her on the podcast to say, look, from a marketing perspective, this is a really big piece of legislation that impacts marketing. Can you just give us the lowdown? And what she was saying is really, organisations, we're not trying to just jump down on the throat of those organisations that are doing this badly. We want to celebrate those that are doing this really well. We want them to be elevated and not to be green hushing and not talking about what they're doing because they're worried, but we want to actually, have legislation in place that stops the bad practice, that enables good practice, so that people know that is a brand I can trust. Yep. That is something I can trust that they are saying. I can feel good about buying something from them because actually they are doing what they say they do rather than spinning a version of the truth. And unfortunately, marketing and advertising, we spin a lot of versions of the truth. And that's what we've been paid to do for decades. Now we need to kind of get into the different trajectory of how do we not spin it, how do we actually help organisations uncover what they're doing well, do it better, and talk about that.
We have a lot of conversations with our clients about that, because if a client comes forward with a sustainability request, it's kind of always asking that question of, well, what's actually sitting behind this? Is this real? Which we always would anyway, when you're, even before sustainability was a topic of, have you actually got a point of difference with this product? Yeah. But this is now actually the depth that sits behind it. But I think you're right in terms of what you're talking about there. The short-termism versus the long-termism of, that's the tension, isn't it? Because you've got people in jobs, very senior jobs, running these big businesses that need to drive profit now. And they're going to have to ultimately kind of rejig their whole business model to be able to look at a long-term future for themselves.
You're absolutely right. I mean, it does come back to how we measure success. And it does come back to how,
individuals are KPI'd as well.
Absolutely. It really does come back to a lot of the way that we've managed and organised how we measure success, what success looks like, how we report on profits, quarterly reporting. Sustainability programs aren't going to fit into quarterly reporting. And so, we have to think about different systems, different economic systems, different, this is what I'm saying, this is enormous. When we talk about sustainability, it's hugely complex because it doesn't just touch marketing, it touches our whole infrastructure.
Is there any other point in history that you can liken the change that we need to, that we could learn from?
There's an amazing podcast series called Outrage and Optimism, and they had two of them had a debate on net zero. It's probably the most comprehensive debate I've ever heard. I understood every word of it, right? It really, like, you don't have to understand the science. And one of the guys said at the end, the decisions we make in the next decade will determine humanity for the next 500,000 years. And he said, we have the opportunity to change it. And he likened climate change to being trapped in a cage with a tiger that's asleep. Kick it enough and it's going to wake up, and when it wakes up, done. And it was like, I was walking my dog and I just stood in a field and went, oh God.
I don't think, and without, doom and gloom doesn't sell, right? Doom and gloom, nobody wants that.
But
people go, ooh, I'm head in the sand. We don't want that. So we don't want to turn people off, okay? But you do need to understand how serious it is, because that then gives you the courage to say, oh my goodness, I've got to do something about this. It's an energy. It gives you an energy. It doesn't depress you. It actually ignites you. And I think it ignites us as marketers to say, come on, our voice is, we've got the opportunity, the channels, the reach, the skills, we've got a lot to offer to this solution. And to being part of the solution.
We can make it cool, we can make it desirable.
We can.
I think it makes marketing fun again and exciting again. I mean, at the moment it's like, take your message, chop it up into 10,000 pieces and chuck it down social media and other channels and hope someone sees it. Now we can get involved in cause marketing, social marketing, word of mouth, the sharing economy, communities. I think that's way more exciting to come in and have a purpose and doing your job like that than the screwing a top on toothpaste every single day, doing the same thing.
Sustainability is a source of competitive advantage, because there's the framing to consumers to make it desirable, cool, etc. But to get business to pay attention, I know that from talking about competitive advantage, breaking out of the pack, being distinctive, they'll be interested.
I think there's that. But I also think we've got to go bigger than competitive advantage, and I think we've got to look at collaborative advantage, because no one organisation, no one brand, no one country, no one individual is going to, this really is a sense of we're all in this together. So leadership is going to come from who has the balls to actually be the brand that says, hey, competitors,
I love that.
Let's get together here, and how are we going to collectively work on solving some of these problems? Because your problems are our problems. We're all the same. So how can we do this in a way that almost restructures the industry so nobody feels it's competitive and they're all jarring against each other, which dilutes energy. But actually, if they're all working together and galvanised, wow,
I think you need
what could happen?
You need the early ones to go ahead, but you're right, then if you get everyone together as a community, there's such a uniting purpose. We talk a lot about purpose-driven marketing, but this is the ultimate purpose.
This is it.
Yeah.
Gustav Martner, who held up no awards on the Dead Planet at Cannes, when we spoke to him, he said, where are the train companies as an industry trying to take out the aviation companies? He said, where are the car sharing apps trying to take out the SUVs? And at that point, it was just like, that's powerful stuff. If industries get together and try and, solve massive problems together, I think that's interesting.
So exciting, right? And look at the creativity around that. Look at the innovation that genuinely manifests. So, hugely exciting.
I'm acting on that.
You're with us. Yay!